What kind of drove me to start mobile bartending was I was just looking for crazy parties. I show up to this event and there's nothing. They're asking us for this stuff. He's like, "Oh, get a table and go buy the stuff."
What you mean go get a table?
And I was just like,
Bar, and we always talk about all the folks on social media showing all their cocktails every time. But we're tired of seeing cocktails.
Yeah.
We need to see who is the person.
Right,
the person gets the 5-star reviews, not your cocktails.
the dude found my page somehow, and he's like, "Well, we saw you started a business. You can no longer work for me." He actually tried to convince me to not start my business and to work for him, and then to also start teaching classes for him. It motivated me more to continue. Because if he caught onto something, that I was trying to do the same thing, it's like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right. And so by the time 2021 hit, I was making more in 2 days than I was making in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Most people see mobile bartending as just a side hustle, something you do for extra cash on weekends. But what if it could be more? What if you can turn this into a full-time career, making great money and doing what you love every single day? Welcome to Behind the Mobile Bar, the podcast for mobile bartenders and aspiring entrepreneurs. I'm Ryan, aka the Boozy Broker, and when we ran our mobile bartending business, we handled over 300 events and generated over $500,000 a year, all using the Happiest Ours platform. Now, as CEO and co-founder, I'm helping other mobile bartenders do the same, streamlining their operations and growing their businesses. As always, I'm joined by my cousin and business partner, CJ, who keeps us up to date on industry trends, and Vivian, owner of Thirsty Horse Mobile Bartending, who's actively running her own bartending company and knows firsthand what it takes to turn this into a serious business. But today, we got a special guest, Ernie from Liquid Courage. Ernie isn't just running a mobile bartending business, he's doing it full time. He made the leap from part-time to full-time and now runs one of the best mobile bartending businesses in Los Angeles. We're talking about his journey, how he built his business that supports him full-time, and what it takes to make mobile bartending your career. If you ever wondered whether mobile bartending could be more than just a side hustle, this episode is for you. Where passion meets profit and every pour tells a story. Welcome to Behind the Mobile Bar. Woo! Let's go.
Ernie.
All right. So how many
Ernie.
times did I say mobile bartending in that whole thing? Like, was that shit like mobile bartending,
I
mobile
lost
bartending?
count
Yeah.
after 3 because I was taking a shot for each one.
Oh, well,
All right.
CJ will be done in 2 minutes.
Hey, there you go. That's it. Right.
Ernie, we're so excited to have you.
Yeah, man. Let's go, man.
Do we hear a little bit of Ernie's story first, or do we start drinking first?
Let's go to the
Drink.
cocktail.
Ooh,
Let's
I got
drink.
a night off, you guys. Ernie got to make the cocktails for the evening today.
Let's do it.
What are we having, Ernie?
What we got, big
Tell
guy?
us.
So today we actually have a riff on a jungle bird, and we named it the Hummingbird.
Hummingbird. Aww.
So cute.
Again.
Oh gosh.
And so today we use mezcal, Madre Mezcal to be exact. What it is, it's just a refreshing, very tasty cocktail. Little bit of Jamaica, which is a hibiscus syrup, some Campari, Madre, lime juice, and we have a tasty cocktail.
Ew.
It looks
Good
beautiful.
thing I'm thirsty.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
it looks tropical.
It looks hummingbirdy. Cheers, friends.
Cheers.
Welcome, Ernie. We're so happy.
Thank y'all for having me.
Good times.
die.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
Ooh.
this presentation.
I know.
Fantastic
It looks great.
garnish.
Yes.
I made it, but I didn't garnish it.
Who taught you how to do this? You're so good.
Oh, man.
That's
My kind of drink.
Mm.
It's like a little tiki
Yeah.
with a little flair
Tiki, I'm
of...
still trying to figure out.
Super
I'm
well
not-
balanced though.
Yeah.
You know, right? I think the Campari with the sweetness of the Jamaica juice is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, because it's a great question because like you and I, we like that Campari forward. I like that bitter forward, but like we do events, and so we have to look at what's good for the masses.
Yep.
People
That's
like
what's
me.
interesting. Yeah,
Don't
right.
like
Who
Campari.
don't like Campari? Well, you like it today,
I like
brother.
no,
I like
I
it today.
legit like this.
Yeah.
Like I've had a few Jungle Birds in the past, and they're usually not my favorites. Spirit World, don't come at me.
Yeah,
But this I can drink
yeah,
all day, every day.
Very
Solid.
refreshing. I feel like something like this on a hot day
yeah,
is like exactly what I would want.
yeah.
Oh, perfect timing because it's about to rain for the next 4 days.
Right. Well, no, guys, look, we're excited to have Ernie on. This is fantastic, man. It's funny how it worked out too. So today was going to be a different episode, but then Ernie was like, he's just such a huge supporter. He was like, I'm going to go and drive over there and just come and hang out with you guys. And this dude drove like 2.5 hours to get over here.
Through LA traffic.
You know, and just to hang out with us. And I was like, oh man, we don't, you know, Ernie's coming from so far. I was like, we clearly wanted to have you on the podcast for, you know, for some episode that we were going to do. And I was like, you know what, maybe this is the time, you know, I'm not going to have him take another flight over here. You know what I mean? And kind of like do a podcast. So I was like, let me jump it in. So we move things around. So we appreciate it, man. But, I love it. I would love to hear just how you got started, man. Let's just start there, like a little bit of your story. And, you know, this episode is all about going full-time, making that leap, which is huge, right? Like there's a lot of people that do it part-time, right? Viv does it part-time. I would say most people do, you know? So you're one of the ones that's doing it full-time, man. So we'd love to hear your story, big guy.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure being here. I've watched a few episodes and I really enjoy it. I was telling Ryan earlier that it's very entertaining. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm like, this is very educational, but it is so boring. And this, I get to learn, I get to laugh, I get to see the you know, the energy you guys bring, and it makes it that much better, you know?
Oh,
So,
thanks, man.
So
congratulations
we're not
to you
just
guys.
corny. It's like, it's okay. It's just enough
I'll pay
corny.
you your $100 later.
Right. That's it.
If it is corny, it's my kind of corny. So.
it worked.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, a little bit about myself. Liquid Courage started in 2017. At that time, mobile bartending wasn't really a big thing yet. There was a few people doing it, you know, in LA, even like nationwide. And what kind of drove me to start mobile bartending was I was just looking for extra money at the time. I had just bought my first home, spent all my savings kind of purchasing the home. So I was kind of trying to like replenish. I moved into a house, everyone knows this, and I didn't have like sofas for a few months. So
Dang.
my thing was like, look, I got a house.
Yeah.
Now I got to furnish it.
I got to fill it up, man, with something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea came
Where were
about.
you guys sitting on? I can't move past that yet.
Boxes.
Our bed. Living room was just for decoration.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Humble beginnings. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of bartending has, to do it as a job, came after we bought the home. But I was already kind of semi-bartending before that. It was kind of one of those things, you know, I've talked about it before, is I was the go-to bartender. Like, without the title, like, Ernie's going to make drinks.
Got it.
And the thing is, like, I had no idea what I was doing. But I would always make something, or I'd research something and just, like, whip it up. So that's where it kind of stemmed to, like, hey, like, I kind of like doing this. So when we threw the idea around, we're like, let's try bartending. Went to school, and not that I needed school, but I thought, like, what more can we learn, right?
Right.
And thankfully, because of the school is kind of where the private events came about. I wanted to work at a restaurant, at a bar, etc. And the instructor came in one day and was like, hey, who wants to work this weekend? And I was like, dude, I need money. I'm down. Raised my hand.
Me.
And then little did I know, he was just choosing anyone. So the two guys next to me raised their hand also. It was their first class.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, no.
Oh, gosh.
I still did it. We ended up driving down to Moreno Valley.
Oh, Lord.
And this was like a 2.5 hour drive from me.
Yeah.
Then he volunteered me to drive everyone. So it was like, hey, you guys are just hopping in his car, just go. Show up.
Because gas was free then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know what he was thinking. You know, I was like, all right, cool, let's go, guys. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was doing him a favor, so, you know, maybe he'd give me more work, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Trying to impress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crazy part is I show up to this event, and there's nothing. There's no mixers, there's no cups, napkins, nothing.
Oh, it was
And-
bartender only.
Yes. Oh. So we show up, and we're like, hey, we're here. Like, where do we set up? Where's the bar? They're like, there is no bar. We thought you guys were bringing the bar.
Stop.
So I panic. I call the guy, and I'm like, dude, like, they're asking us for the stuff. He's like, oh, just get a table and go buy the stuff.
the
What you mean
heck?
go get a table?
And I was
Stop
just like,
it.
what? So here I go running. I have the other two guys set up,
Yeah.
run to the local liquor store, and I just buy like a bunch of sodas, waters, you know, whatever I can get, ice, red cups.
Oh,
Solos. The
Classy.
solos.
Man.
Wow.
Classy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so like we pull it off. They end up adding us extra hours. They leave us like a wonderful Yelp review.
That's
Clearly, you
awesome.
killed
And
it.
I was just like, dude, this was hard, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Like the thrill of like putting it together, making it happen. I was like, dude, this
Right.
is cool.
Right.
So I worked like 2 or more events. And
Not
then
like that, hopefully.
God, I
No.
hope not. Yeah.
Smaller scale, thankfully, close by.
Yeah.
Fun fact, he owes me gas though. He never paid for my gas.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
We're gonna come get you, man.
Yeah.
It's gas.
And adjust for inflation.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, right.
That's the
right.
key.
Right.
That's the key.
But that's kind of where it stemmed. I got to see what these private events were. And I was like, dude, like I could totally do this better. And so by the 3rd event, I had already decided I wanted to do it.
Wow.
And what ended up happening is I started an Instagram page. That was like my initial start was I said, hey, I'm going to start a page. And that's it. The dude found my page somehow. And he's like, well, we saw you started a business. You can no longer work for me. And I said, what? He's just like, yeah, you know, you're now considered my competition.
What the?
Wow.
And I've posted about it. I've posted the screenshots. I kept the screenshots. And he said the tiniest seeds turn into the mightiest redwoods. And at that time, I said, you know, like there's no way I could never do that.
Right.
And so he actually tried to convince me to not start my business and to work for him, and then to also start teaching classes for him.
What the heck?
And he's like, you don't want to do that. Like the insurance is high. Like it's a lot to come out of pocket. And my response, I have proof, was like, thank you so much for everything. I was like, I'll take the loss, and you know, I'll spend the money on the insurance because this is something I'm very passionate and I really want to do.
Yeah.
And we called it quits there.
Wow.
Wow.
And then from there is where we kind of like, all right, let's try this out. And then I just started posting, and some of my first events were actually some of my friends.
Nice.
Okay.
And so we started doing
talked about
events.
that.
Yeah.
We've mentioned
Ernie, with you getting that feedback, because I'm at this point, right? Your bartending teacher is your mentor, right? And with him telling you, "Don't do this," what was your mindset, right? Like what was going through your head as you're hearing this? Now your competition,
Yeah.
right? You know, tiny seeds turn into redwoods.
Yeah.
You know, what was your mindset like?
At the time that I read it, I was like, oh man, like, you know, I felt bad that first he found my page and maybe he thought I was being sneaky or something like that. But then after I kind of assessed it before I wrote anything back, it kind of motivated me more to continue. Because if he caught onto something, he caught onto that I was trying to do the same thing. It's like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right. And so it kind of drove me, and I never respond to people the way I responded to him that day. Because I'm very like, I go with people and I try to be, you know.
You're very mindful. You're
Yeah.
very modest.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
very
But something in
appropriate.
me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell him like, I'm good, and I'm going to try this anyway.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, if he never came at you like that, you would have still just kind of like worked under him, maybe some things on the side, but you would have done it respectfully. Because a lot of bartenders, and we'll talk about this, a lot of bartenders, they'll do that, right? They'll work. I'm sure you've had bartenders that did this. They worked under you, and then maybe they started their own thing on the side.
Yeah.
But you know, if people don't know Ernie, right? He always says the saying, community over competition. So him coming at you like that was completely different than even how you think, you know.
Yeah.
But is that correct that you would have like continued to just work under him? And so it was like almost like destiny for you, like, all right, I want to go jump
Yeah, I actually had an event lined up to work the next Saturday.
under him.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing was like I wanted to gain as much experience as I could.
Yeah.
And what I noticed about what he was kind of not doing was that he wasn't really involved. He was just setting it up, staffing, and you go.
Right.
And that's where I felt like he wasn't detailed to like follow through and make sure that everyone needed what they needed. And I was like, dude, like,
Well, I mean, so look ups, liquor store, drop off,
Yeah.
I was
buy a
just about to
table.
say, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
and we still got that 5-star review.
Yeah, you still got it
Buy a
done.
table, like,
You still got
okay.
it done. But see, this
Where
is
does
like
one buy a table?
right
Last
like,
minute.
Well, these are like little gems of like, look, you showed up, there was nothing there, but then you ended up with the 5-star review, and it just goes to show like it's the person
Right.
Yeah.
right behind the bar. And we always talk about all the folks on social media showing all their cocktails every time. That's fine. but we're tired of seeing cocktails.
Yeah.
We need to see who is the person.
Right.
The person
Right.
gets the 5-star reviews, not your cocktails. You know what I mean? So no, that's fantastic.
I think that was a great example of two things. Number one is a great example of the entrepreneurial mindset, where you walk into something and you see a problem, right? We don't have any mixers.
Right.
We don't have a table.
Yep.
We
Good
don't have
point.
a bar.
Great point.
Right. And you're like,
But you don't just throw your hands up and quit.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm making chicken salad out of chicken shit. Right. So it really is, that problem solving mentality. That's why I think entrepreneurship is that you just see a problem and you solve it. But the second thing, from what you've told me, is, to me, that's kind of been the ethos of your business. Ryan said it, for as long as I've known Ernie, and we've known Ernie now, it's crazy to say, years, right?
That's crazy.
And that's crazy to say. But since I've known you, it always has been community over competition.
Right.
100%.
Right. And so I've seen you lend a hand, lend an ear, lend your mind, lend your time, to other bartending companies. And then even further, right? Like, even I've also been able to see behind the scenes of Ernie.
Yeah.
And so Ernie, even when he's not working an event, he makes sure that his bartenders are always set up for success.
Right.
But I think that goes back to your initial bartending experience
Right.
of being left without any lifelines.
Yeah.
And then you actually extended that so that your bartenders will never experience that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
That's huge, man. And so you go and start your own thing. You feel, kind of like you were doing this regardless. It was just a matter of when, and you're like, let me get as much experience as I can under this guy. And I'm ready to leap. I'm going to leap. But it kind of pushed you a little early, but you jumped and you did it. Now this time, are you still working full time?
Absolutely.
You're still working full time at your day job. And now you've started Liquid Courage. Liquid Courage, how did the name come up?
yeah.
Man, it's funny. I get this question very often.
Yeah.
My initial thought for starting a brand was just like Mr. E or Ernie's Bartending, something very like
Generic.
simple.
Right.
And to be honest, it's because I never saw myself growing it past myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't until I shot it in my friend group text. And I said, hey guys, I'm starting a business. I need some help. Like, what do you guys think of these names? And they're like, oh, those are horrible.
This
Yeah,
is
leave it to friends. Yeah.
This is the modern day ChatGPT, his
Yeah,
friend group.
yeah.
text. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I came up with my name as well.
Right,
Friends group chat.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Good call.
So me and my buddy shot around a few names and we started to eliminate them as we went. And my boy was like, dude, like, what about Liquid Courage? And I was just like, everyone's like, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's
it.
when you know. That's when you
And
know.
I was like,
Yep.
and it just sounded catchy, Liquid Courage. And then one of my other boys was like, everyone needs, what did he say? Everyone needs a little Liquid Courage. And I was like, dude, that rolls. And so that's kind of how we've always pitched it, was like, everyone needs a little Liquid Courage.
Right.
And we still say it till this date.
I love it.
But that's kind of how it came about. Just
I love it. That's fantastic.
I love
okay,
that.
so
Everyone needs a little
liquid courage, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so
open you up a little bit, you know?
yeah, and so now okay, so you're working full time. You're doing this part time. How long were you doing Liquid Courage part time?
So I did it from 2017 till 2021.
Oh, so look at that.
So
Good
right
for you,
through
man.
the pandemic.
Correct. So my
Yeah.
actual initial plan in 2020 was to quit my full time. And then a month before COVID hit, I had submitted my resignation.
Oh, God.
And my boss, thankful to him till this day, I had an amazing job, by the way. I probably consider myself a lifer there
Yeah.
if I would have never discovered Liquid Courage.
Right.
But my boss was like, hey, Ernie, like, are you sure? Like, really think about it. You know, you're getting paid. Like, I understand you want to be an entrepreneur. Very open with me. And he's like, stick it out a bit. And then a month later, we shut down.
Wow.
So I would have been without a full-time job and then trying to make Liquid Courage work as the pandemic
Out
hit.
of necessity.
So
Yeah.
first few months of the pandemic were very, very, very dry.
Right.
Like the first 4 or 5 months. I did nothing to do with bartending.
Right.
And so at that time, luckily I kept my job, and so I still had that 2-week check.
Yeah.
The only difference was we all transitioned to home,
Yeah.
Right.
and we were working. And so, as it progressed, like maybe like 8-9 months into COVID, people started to get a little antsy, and they started asking us to come out.
Surge, man.
And so, like our first few events in like the pandemic were like 10 people. Like they were just tired of waiting, and they're like, "Hey, come through.
Yeah.
You wear a mask. We wear a mask." We had even like one of those plexiglasses on
Did
the
you really?
bar, and I didn't post.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, smart move.
Yeah.
But
Don't get in trouble.
yeah, so these people were like, "Yeah, just give us a price. We'll pay."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, sweet." So I went out, I did it, and then next thing you know, their family members like, "Hey, Ernie, like, we saw you were there. Like, come here. Like, we got you too."
Yeah.
Another small event.
Wow.
And so we started building up these small events during the pandemic.
This is all in LA mostly.
Yeah, literally like maybe 15, 20 miles out of our home area.
Got it.
And then the world started to open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so by the time 2021 hit, I was making more in 2 days than I was making in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that
At
was
your day job.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that was my thing. Like, I was like, dude, like, we're making more money, but I still wanted to be loyal to my job because, they kept me alive. But then I got to the point where I couldn't handle either or. Like, I started slacking on my full time. I started slacking on my bartending.
Yeah.
So familiar.
Yeah.
I know.
So many similarities. Keep going, please.
And so then at that point, it came to, I had to come to the point of like, look, like I either got to run full time with Liquid Courage, or I got to take less of Liquid Courage and go full time, more back to my full time.
Okay, so let's pause there. This is really good, man. Like, this is a huge like inflection point in your life. Like, for you to make this like leap of like going full time. Was there anybody that influenced you during this time? Any friend, family member, whatever, that kind of said, like, gave you the courage, the liquid courage to go do
Pun
it?
intended.
Or was it liquid courage? I don't know. But what I understand that you were kind of like, you were seeing the writing in the wall of like, all right, I'm clearly more excited about this than this, but I'm a loyal guy. This is paying the bills. But I'm enjoying this, and now I'm making more money in this. Like, hour for hour, I'm making more money for this than this. Was it just a pure math solution for you, or you just thought it just makes sense? Or was there something that like really kind of pushed you and said, you know what, I'm going to just take this leap of faith?
A little bit of both,
Okay.
I would say. A big part of me had been wanting to do it since 2020. Reason being is because I started to meet more people in the industry, and kind of like where I even met Viv. And we met at Nashville, of all places.
I think I've known him longer than you guys, just so you
Yeah.
know.
You take that cake. You take the cake on that, Viv. You take the cake.
We didn't go outside.
Actually, Viv, did we meet because of the first event that Ernie put on? The first like unofficial
person.
Libation Nation one?
Yes,
Right,
That's
right.
how we met in person.
That's
We'd
how we met
already
in person.
known each other
Yeah,
for
that's
months.
right. That's right. Because we
met
did Zoom
Ernie
calls and stuff like that
through
before
you.
that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right, Vivian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I know. I was all intimidated by you and
So
Mike.
it kind of goes full
What?
circle.
Yeah, it does.
Intimidated
It really
by
does.
I was.
Ooh.
I was like,
I'm
oh,
a nobody,
gee.
friend. I'm a nobody. I'm sorry, we cut you off because we always go off on a tangent.
No, but I was just saying, right? It goes full circle.
Right.
Like I met Viv in Nashville. You guys met through LA, and both events were community events.
Right. Right.
But in Nashville, we were attending conferences for mobile bartending.
Right. You took this seriously. Like, to do that,
Yeah.
that costs money and time and effort, a flight,
investment.
accommodation.
Yeah.
You
was an
invested in yourself. That were you that passionate to say, like, I have to invest in myself in this? Or did you always believe in investing in yourself? Like, that's a big step to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What made you do that as well?
Well, I think like 2018, 2019, I kind of caught on to like, dude, this is good. Like, no one's doing this. Very few people were doing this.
You saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you said, CJ.
And so I don't know how I randomly searched. I was like, bartending conferences. And then I was like, let me search just a little more mobile bartending conferences. Only one came up. And it was the one in Nashville. And I was like, I need to go learn more about this so I can make it better in LA. So I can grow, what I really wanted to do. And at the time, I was still working full time. So I was like, you know what? Just request some PTO.
Right.
And
You called off sick, like I did.
Great
I actually
minds
submitted
think alike.
mine ahead of time.
Say, got
Yeah.
them hours, better use them for you lose them.
You're right.
Still got paid.
That's
Still got
how that
paid.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how that works.
So I just, I went out there on a whim, didn't know anyone,
Yeah.
but I've always kind of had that in me to like just do something and just go talk to people.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let me just go try this out. And then, I don't know, back then, I was just like, no one really goes to Nashville.
Or so
And
we
then,
thought.
let alone like a Latino, like in Nashville.
we,
But I say, you know what?
we felt a little out of place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why we migrated towards each other.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, you're like me.
Nah, you guys are trendsetters. You know how many Latinos are in Nashville now?
Oh.
Y'all trendsetters.
Nashville was fun. A lot of good times. But yeah, it was just one of those things, man. I was just like, let's get out there. Let's go learn.
Was that like a scary transition? That's what I always thought. Since I'm still working part-time, I'm such a chicken and I cannot let go.
Oh,
Healthcare,
That fear, what
Healthcare
was-
benefits matter.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's
what it comes down to.
one of the reasons why I also held on to it for so long. When I tell you I had a great job,
Yeah.
well taken care of, well paid. Benefits were some of the most amazing benefits you could ever get.
It's funny. I'm so sorry. Keep cutting you off. We were both from LA area. We never met LA. We met in Nashville.
Yeah.
We both worked for the same company. How does that have all like? We are literally full circle, you and I.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had a great job. So to let go of that, I don't know that.
Yeah, it was very hard just because, again, the golden handcuffs is what I tell everyone.
Right.
You get a 2-week check every other Friday.
Yeah.
You have your benefits.
Right.
Our break room was stocked and stacked. Like, we were just taken care of.
Yeah.
Quarterly outings, like, it was all good.
Yeah.
So then, and I think my boss knew, like, this is a big risk that you're taking.
Right.
Like, let's hold on. But when I did, it was kind of like, I knew what was coming.
And it was so worth it.
It was worth it, and I panicked. But I found out that there's a lot of, like if you do the right research, there's a lot of ways that you can supplement what I was going to lose.
Right.
My biggest thing was like my 401k, my savings. I built it for 9 years at that company.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, well, once you leave, it's gone. And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's
now.
gone?
Yeah.
But it all worked out.
Yeah.
It definitely all worked out.
That's awesome, man. No,
Like a
that's
virus.
just to like he went over so much over here. It's really right, that leap of faith. There's a lot of like, it's scary, like you said, Vivian, at the end of the day. And like, how do you make that adjustment? How do you even have faith that you're going to scale enough doing this thing full time? But I think Ernie did it the right way because you were doing it part time for a number of years. And it was until you kind of like exceeded a certain amount of income that you're like, all right, I'm going to take this leap of faith. So there's a little bit of like, you felt good about it, type of thing. But it just seems like it was inevitable. You're going to do it regardless.
You know what's crazy about that is I thought leaving my full time, I was going to work less.
Oh gosh. We may have discussed this already.
Yeah, I was working Monday through Friday and then Friday night through Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Monday
Yeah.
I'd be right back at work.
Yeah.
And I was
Yep.
like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm only going to work weekends.
This is gonna be great.
Yeah,
It's
right.
gonna be fantastic. Hang out with the kids. We're chilling. Yeah.
How'd that work out for you, Ernie?
It didn't.
He's actually working right now. You guys just can't see. He's like, yes, look, disagree.
What do they say?
Decline.
You leave your 8 to 5, 9 to 5 to work at 24/7.
To work
Right.
24/7.
Right. That's exactly right. But you work for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You put in
It's
for
so
yourself.
I'm happy that you mentioned that because, right, a lot of us here, we're probably first, second, or third in the family to do entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us here, right, have worked corporate, right? And so I think like for a lot of older generation, or even just people who have never done a entrepreneurship type of role, right? They see it more as a like, hey, like how come you don't have the weekends off?
Oh gosh, I
When,
hate when
when do
people
you
nag me
take
about that.
vacations?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like
What do you want me to say?
to explain that to people, like yeah, I work 24/7, but it's for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a bigger joy than that.
Yeah.
Than knowing like you literally kill, right? Like you eat what you kill.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's part of it too. There has to be some enjoyment in the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? It's all like 'cause they don't get it. What you're saying is like, why aren't you taking a break? Like, no, you don't understand. Like, you enjoy sitting down and watching Netflix, which is cool. That's fine. I just enjoy doing this.
Thank
like,
you.
there's a part of
Thank
me
you.
that actually like loves doing this.
I geek
so
out
don't
to this.
don't like bring down my joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to stop watching Netflix. You know what I mean? So it's all like that's just part of the gig. You know? So, dude, this is great because for anybody that's thinking about this, it's like, how do you prepare for the transition, right? From part-time to full-time. And it seemed like you did it the smart and wise way. You made, again, I think the key thing that you said here, I made more in 2 days than I did in 2 weeks. That's the key thing here. It's just all like, okay, this is how I prepared for this. There's other financial things that you have to, think about, right? 401k, this and that, right? That you just have to like kind of consider. You didn't just make the jump, just because, right? So that's fantastic. And then it's all like, how do you actually transition? Like, I'm very curious on that phase, like, because you were working for this company for 9+ years, and now you're a full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So it's all like, tell me a little bit about that transition. Like, just was it weird? Was it like, I know you mentioned that, like, I thought I was just gonna be working weekends and like this and that, but like, how was that? Like, and then now you eat what you kill,
Yeah, absolutely. I think taking that year to reanalyze like what I wanted to do next was beneficial too, right? Because it gave me the opportunity to set myself up. So like I knew I was going to lose benefits. I knew I was going to lose my 401. So what I did is, and something I learned through the conferences we went to, talking to other people, was like, you had to have a business plan.
right?
Like, what is your next 3 months, 6 months, next year going to look like, and how are you planning for it? And I get this question often, like, how do you grow, or et cetera, et cetera. And so I tell people, like, you're worried about what you're going to do tomorrow. I'm worried about what I'm going to do in 6 months to a year.
Right.
Like,
That's
I've already planned for this first 6 months.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think that's something that I recommend to everyone is just like, set yourself up. Like, what's your goal for your first quarter? How are you going to get more events? Are you going to need more staff? Do you need to charge more, et cetera? It's like these little nuggets that I learned early on that helped me transition out. So by the time I left, my year was already fully booked.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
And so,
smooth
You left
transition.
prepared.
Yeah. Sweet.
but that kind of comes from like experience, right? So like 2017, 18, 19, I would cap myself because I could only do so much. I'd be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm booked out for the year.
Yeah.
And I used to post about it. And I was like, all right, you missed your shot. This is all I could do.
Right.
Going into 2021, I told myself I would never do that again. And I said, I'm going to do as much as I can now that I have the time, and I'm going to dedicate myself to Liquid Courage.
Right.
I'm going to just go hard. No more capping. There's no more such thing as like I'm booked for the full year. And this is how we've been able to hit some of those,
Wow, milestone.
you know,
How you've been to
milestones.
consistently keep growing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And what would you say is probably out of everything, your biggest challenge out of that transition? Like the biggest thing that was like, man, I didn't foresee this, or anything like that.
Staffing.
Staffing. Oh man, see, this episode is supposed to be about people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
Staffing
switched it
is
up
a
because Ernie's
whole-
coming in town.
yeah.
But
It's
man,
perfect, though.
there's one thing that
Staffing
was
is a
so
whole
perfect. This is
nother-
perfect for the next episode.
For the next episode.
Yeah.
It's a little
We'll talk a little
preview.
bit about it.
Yeah,
Little
yeah,
preview,
yeah,
but
yeah,
little sneak
yeah.
peeks.
People
I want to
is
hear it,
everything.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. What's been your experience trying to
First of all, I feel like I'm the only one drinking.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you.
Questions.
I'm
Y'all
so
two ain't got no
intrigued.
excuses. Ernie's cool. He's talking a lot.
First
so-
of
Yeah,
all,
no,
I've
but you
been
know
drinking
what's-
way more than all y'all.
I know. I'm just so intrigued. I'm like, as if I haven't talked to you about this
Don't
before.
make me bring this plastic cup in the back. You know what I'm saying?
I had a distributor meeting.
The backup,
so
the reserve.
Right. Staffing was the biggest challenge, huh?
Yes. And let me tell you why. What did everyone get in 2020?
COVID?
They got laid off, or
People, no, not only that,
free checks.
free checks.
oh yeah, right.
Okay, I'm like, they all got
That's
COVID.
right. That's right. No, that's right. There was a lot of like
Stimulus.
bars were having the issues with staffing as well because they were
making
like,
more money,
I'm making
not
more
working
Yeah,
than
not
I am
working. I'm just gonna
working.
sell something online.
You guys hit
know?
like a for me. Because as we've discussed before, I am a nurse. I
Right.
was a COVID nurse. We didn't see any of those
I
incentive
know,
checks.
I
We
know.
didn't get any of
No,
those
you were
perks.
required to work.
We were required, and there was no
Yeah.
bonuses. There was like pizza every Friday. Like, hey guys, you're doing great. Have some pizza. Like,
Nobody bought you
Let's petition.
It wasn't fat lip too.
Yeah,
was
it
it?
was not
make
fat
up for
lip
that.
pizza,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
I don't
Get
think it was
triple
around
double.
then.
Yeah.
Triple double.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But that's why we
I'm
give you
sorry
so
to
much
tell you.
like kudos, Viv, and I want to go more into that as well because like you went through it during those times. Like that's we got to talk about.
That's a
that.
whole
What
nother-
led her
That's
to
a whole nother
drinking?
thing.
That's what
Yeah.
led me to drinking. Fun fact, shout out to a very special friend of ours. This is actually what gave me the idea of mobile bartending. I don't think I've said this. So we did our own mobile bartending one day after like one of those terrible days of losing patience, being burned out. We were done. So one of our friends' husband pulls up to work, parks in an empty lot, pops open the trunk, and has coolers full of beer, has bottles, has mixers, has cups, has ice, and he was
man.
like, "You guys, welcome to the bar." So we're all like in our scrubs, sweating,
Yes.
crying, burned out. And then our boss shows up, and then we all skedaddled like cockroaches.
So you weren't off.
Yeah.
We were clocked out, but we were on property.
Yeah.
We were on property. Yeah.
To go.
Yeah, so we all skedaddled.
Cocktails
Good to
ago.
have a bar on the go.
Yeah,
So
right.
literally, he closed the trunk. We pull into like the street because this was when everything was shut down. We pull into like a street of an empty warehouse and just chilled with like lawn chairs in the empty parking lot and drank. And then a couple months later, after other stuff, then
There
I'm
was
like,
a
it's
twinkle in
on.
your eye, like
Right.
got
That's
something there.
Yeah.
that's a classic story of not all heroes wear capes.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like truly.
A lot of them wear hospital gowns.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Or what do you call that?
Scrubs.
Scrubs.
A lot of them wear scrubs.
Yeah.
And they do their job every day. So kudos. Thank you.
Thank you.
you're
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We gotta hear we need an episode on like those times.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Tough times for
sure.
you guys.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what-
you worry about a wedding rush.
Yeah.
Vivian was over here worried about people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was crazy times.
Yeah. No, I love
Okay, let's
it.
change the subject.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but this is awesome. A great time to also like learn what does it take, right? I love where we're going. What does it take to run this thing full time? Right? Like what do you have to do to really kind of just keep yourself busy? You know, I always call it like offense, defense, right? Like there's times where, there's slower months and now you have to be on offense to go and grab more. You know, there's times where it's too much coming in and now you're just playing defense, right? So it's, what does it take from your end, your perspective to running a full-time mobile bartending business?
In the beginning, it was very hard for me to like grasp that of like, how do I continue to get more business? And shout out to Don in Texas. He kind of opened my eyes to that. So Don used to be a partner in
I remember
Liquid
that
HD.
meeting. Yeah.
And during COVID, when I had nothing to do, I actually flew down to shadow him for a few days. So, and the reason being is because when I met him, he was doing 1,000 events a year.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that,
That's like how?
that's 20 events a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're sitting there.
Yeah. And so I went down and I was like, dude, like, how do you do this? He sat me down and I was just, I got to mentor him literally, like from meetings to him showing up to work, clocking out of work. And the one thing that will always stick to me that helped me get to that next level was networking.
Yeah.
And that's something that I never knew would help me grow my business and allow me to do it full time and continuously.
Yeah.
Because networking is where you build relationships.
Right.
And those relationships, equal work or referrals, et cetera, et cetera. And that's one of the things that has definitely helped me, when I was transitioning full time, is I went right out. I went from that meeting in Texas. I came back and I said, let's go. Who can I meet? Where can I meet? So I would just research like networking events and networking groups. Aside from that too, it was just kind of like planning.
Yeah.
And I think you said, playing offense and defense, a lot of people only see the event side
Right.
because that's all we post.
Right.
And to me, it was figuring out and coming up with a plan on how I was going to get these events.
Right.
And so that's when I started working with my assistant, Jamie.
Shout out to Jamie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Champ.
Kudos.
She's
Yeah.
amazing. And we started to come up with a plan on how we can get more business. And so we started building out our back end stuff.
Yep.
And that alone helped a lot because then we started to streamline how we would get inquiries, how we would treat them, what stages they were in, like stuff I never thought of before. Before it was just like, book me, pay me, and I show up.
Yeah,
You
right,
know?
right.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as the industry grew, we'd get a lot of leads, but not a lot of bookings.
Yeah.
And we were wondering why. And so we created like a follow-up system. Then we created they booked like, let's follow up with them also, et cetera. You know, you start to grow in that sense. And then of course, like the defensive side of it, and you get to the point where you're like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then that's where staffing came in. Yeah. And initially, I didn't want to do more than like 1 or 2 events a day.
Because it's
But
safe.
then, one day, I don't know what got in me. I booked 10 events in a day.
Same thing. That's crazy. We did the same exact thing. Like it was 10 events, and we're like, we were just telling a story of like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Nothing.
Yeah.
You're bartending. Like
All my friends
right.
have bartenders for me.
Right.
All of them.
Oh my gosh, I love
They
it.
loved it too, though. It was fun.
Yeah, who
But-
doesn't love it? You know.
At that point, I was just like, dude, I pulled that off.
Yes. Yeah.
And then a light bulb went off, and I was just like, man, I need to do more.
I can do this. Yeah.
We can do more.
You got that you know, your scar in your armor of like, holy snaps, like I didn't die.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I may have got banged up a little bit, but like I did not die, and I can for sure do this, and not only do it, but I can do it better.
Yeah.
Like I can probably do 11, probably do 12, or I can do 10, the same 10 better.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's all like that. That's what's awesome about that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And that brings up a great point. You talk about staffing. Ernie, how many people do you manage on staff?
Well, I just did my books, and I had 26
Wow.
people that we managed last year.
Dang.
Crazy to
That's
think.
huge. That is huge.
Yeah.
There's a round of applause.
Yeah. Again, little did I know that this is where it would end up, but you know, as we've grown, we've been able to add on people. I'm actually officially on payroll now,
Nice.
so I no longer work with subcontractors.
Right.
I can't say never because I still can,
Yeah.
but as a business that's growing, payroll is where we're heading.
Makes
and
more sense.
Yeah. So we now have payroll, and then fun fact, I actually put my mom on payroll.
Hey,
Which
that's
was
what I'm
nice.
talking about.
That is
yeah.
an accomplishment.
Yeah.
that
man.
is-
That is
That-
an accomplishment.
At first, I was like, dude, like, they're asking me like, oh, who do you want to put on? Like, you put this one on, you put your mom. I was like, my mom?
Yeah, right.
I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I
let's
love
put
you,
her
Mom.
on.
I love you.
You know what that means? You now can tell her what to do.
Let me tell you, in a
She's just gonna
Hispanic
charge me double.
household, never.
No, that's
Yeah.
African household too.
Yeah.
Okay, so question for you: 10 events. If you would have left that cooler on a 10 event day, what would you have done?
Oh my God.
See, that's a what if scenario. You don't even think
Yeah.
You know, at that
that's-
point, you just go buy a cooler.
Yeah.
about. Right.
God.
Whoa.
We're thinking smarter, not harder now. We're Instacarting all this
I don't
stuff.
know. We were real dumb
Yeah.
in the beginning, so we probably would have texted everybody. But eventually we'd have settled on let's buy a cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We the last episode was all about F ups.
Oh my God.
Dropped a lot of F bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
We should have
It
a
was
counter
a
on
lot.
there, just like a tally marker. Just
Yeah,
every time
we're doing
you-
it.
Yeah.
Ding, every
Shot
time.
per
Ding.
F.
But
I just had an F up over the weekend.
Tell, please.
Hold
That's
on.
gonna be our question
But
corner when we come back.
Before we do that, we're gonna go on a quick break, and then let's go ahead and hear about Ernie's F up.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Carry on.
I love where this conversation is going. This video is sponsored by Happiest Ours. We are a one-stop platform that's designed to help mobile bartenders succeed and grow in their businesses and make real-time connections effortless.
Click the link in the description to book a demo today.
Now grab a drink and let's get back to this podcast.
All right, guys. So we have a little question, right? You had something to say.
Well, I am so intrigued. I've known Ernie for years, but
Right.
still, I just love listening to talk. You guys take notes. These are all huge little golden nuggets. But as our honorary guest, Ernie, we always have to ask our guests, what is your craziest story? What is your craziest fuck up?
Oh man, I have a few.
Craziest.
I don't know. Sometimes I get so caught up in like, obviously like prepping, getting things where they need to be, that I'd say I tend to forget things.
Okay.
Guilty.
Like the best of us.
So more recently, over the last few weeks, get to an event. I don't get to it. One of my bartenders gets to an event. He texts me. I'm like, hey, you're there? Good. He texts me like right when the event is about to start. He's like, hey, Ernie, where's the ice? And I said, what do you mean, where's the ice? And he's like, yeah, the host says that you were providing it. And so this is new to our policy. Like I used to never provide ice.
Yeah, I was gonna say you never provide ice.
So I started providing ice.
Okay.
You know, here and there.
Yeah, it's still one of these things with ice. Yeah, we all hate ice.
It's hard. It's hard.
Why?
So I hate getting ice only because I'm always on the run. That I don't either first have time to go drop it off, or it's gonna freaking melt by the time I get there.
Right.
And there's only so much space for coolers.
Yes.
Right.
And some of these
Right.
events are like nowhere near stores or anything like that. So I'm just like, I'd rather not do ice. If I ever do ice, I usually get it delivered.
Yeah.
But in this instance, and this particular client was being very picky.
Yeah.
Like, I need this, I need that, this, I need custom stirs, I need custom cups, etc.
Oh gosh.
So she's like, where's the ice? And I was just like, oh no.
How did they not realize that
Yes.
right
Drops.
before?
And so it was my bad. Because I was supposed to provide ice. Thank God for Instacart.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
We
paid
talked
every
about that.
I paid every single fee on
Lifesaver.
there,
Yeah.
and I got it there in 20
Every
minutes.
single fee on there. Bop, 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 bop,
Yeah.
bop. Yep, bring it on.
Yeah.
Priority, extra priority. But bring it before priority. Just
And I was to the point where I was like, I'll be there as fast as I can. Like I was gonna drop everything I was doing to go get this ice there.
Right.
Now I looked at the time, I looked at the traffic, and I was just like, "There's no way."
Especially where you're at, bro. It's all like you're like, oh, it's only 5 miles away. Like, damn,
5
2
miles
hours.
and
Yeah.
8,900 minutes in
So
LA time.
I'm on the phone, like watching this person like go get the order, drive there, and I'm just like, "Oh my!" I said, "Can you please hurry?"
I'll give you 20 extra bucks.
I said, "I will tip you
go.
extra."
This is hilarious.
Run the red light.
Ernie is texting the guy, telling him where the ice is. It's in aisle 2. Go get it.
Tell them Ernie said. You know, it's the next
No,
line.
I think that's such a great point, though.
Yeah.
What you just said is so important, right? I think that when you're doing this and you're running your own bartending company, a lot of times you are caught, and I think actually this is like industry agnostic, where you're caught between I can do this myself
Right.
or I can just pay someone
Oh,
to do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add
deciphering between
something
the
to
two.
that where it's all like, especially in that moment
Yes.
of like, holy
Yes.
shit, you're stressed.
Yeah.
And it's all like your thinking is all over the map.
Yeah.
Don't get emotional about it.
No.
Right.
Let you have to still be rational.
Yeah, think
Yeah.
clearly.
Right. And I'm one to just be. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I'm wrong.
I don't
Is that
care
type
how
A?
hard is the work.
That's type A, right?
Is that type A?
I think it is.
I don't.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it.
Guilty.
You know, not always the smartest, but you know what? We get it done.
Running through brick walls. type
that sounds
of
And
like
shit.
then
I'm
you
a
show
type
up
A.
and the
Is what I
Instacart
mean.
driver's already there, and you're like, damn it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also to note for any of you guys out there who are aspiring to be an Ernie, just know that Ernie fucks up too.
Hey.
100%.
He is human.
It's okay.
He has
It's
Yeah.
okay.
red blood like
Because-
the rest of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not Superman,
Minus
Spider-Man,
purple.
whatever. Minus
Yeah.
Yeah, it just mess ups happen, and
All the
that's
time.
okay. You
All the
learn,
time.
you move through it. Sometimes you're just so wrapped up in those 10 events a day
Yeah.
that some marble is gonna fall out.
I think a big
Right.
part to this too is just like not to overreact first off, and like sometimes we run into things and you just gotta roll with it,
Yeah.
and you gotta make it seem like nothing happened.
Yep.
We literally
Yep.
said that. Don't let people know. Don't
Oh,
let-
100%.
Calm and collected.
So-
We literally said that last
So what I said, oh, it's on the way. Don't worry, it's gonna get there.
Yeah.
The client
Yep.
didn't know I forgot.
Yeah, no. There you go.
Don't watch this podcast, please.
Now, what
only for
date and what
bartending
city was
companies.
that?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But I got it there on time.
Yeah.
The good thing is that her guests kind of showed up a little late.
Perfect.
Oh.
So I was like,
Perfect.
I was texting
so
the bartender. I was like, "Is the ice there?" Yeah. Is anyone there? He's like, "No, no one here." They were taking pictures somewhere else, and I was just like,
Right.
"All right, go get it,
Perfect.
take it up,
Thank God.
Yeah.
and we're good." We got a 5-star review after that.
Hey, see?
So
Talking about turning an F up into a glow up.
Yep.
Okay.
You know what I'm
CJ
saying,
with the
right?
facts. You're hitting them all
I'm just
today.
hitting the
Facts.
Bam,
You
bam.
know,
I like
I've
that.
been
I like that
drinking.
you call that
I've
out.
been
See?
drinking.
Facts.
You know, no, but
Yeah.
seriously though, you're right. It is a poker face. I think that Ernie has a great poker face.
yeah.
I've
seen
seen
it
Vivian.
firsthand.
Yeah, no, I've seen it firsthand. But like his demeanor doesn't change.
Right.
I've seen that with Vivian. Right, where we're on top of the hill in Echo Park, and we're trying to figure out how to carry a bar. And Vivian is smiling and laughing, and me, I'm over here. I don't have a poker face, so like the emotions that I'm
I
feeling,
hate you, Vivian.
I wear
What
on
are
my
you doing?
face.
Can we get the wagon?
Why?
Hold on, I gotta think about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't
go.
like
Don't
lift,
think.
lift and go.
Dude.
Lift and go.
Oh,
But
just go.
that's
Don't
it.
think. Just
But
go.
at the end of the day, you're right. Like you are gonna handle whatever you're gonna handle.
Yeah.
Because God gave you everything you need within yourself to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Right.
He wouldn't put you
And,
here.
and he wouldn't put you here if you weren't ready to handle that.
Yeah.
And so, but the demeanor that you take when overcoming these obstacles is such a huge thing. And I think, right, Ryan, Ernie, Vivian, they all have it in that, you know, the world could be on fire.
What is that
But-
meme with the fire?
Right, what's going
Oh,
on?
the cat's like, everything's fine.
Everything's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But like you have to be that way,
Yep.
Right.
because right, while your world may be on fire, for the hosts, they got 10 other worries.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so if you can just be that calm,
Yeah.
if you could be that peace of mind
Yeah. It's
after the
huge.
event, 5 stars.
Right, it's
Yeah.
huge, and I think CJ, what you're talking about is like control what you can control.
Right.
You can control your attitude. You can control your demeanor. You can control how you approach things. That ice is coming when it's coming.
Yeah.
Like that guy's gonna find the ice, and it's gonna get there when it gets there. You've done everything. You hit every button on Instacart to make sure it gets there as fast as possible. At that point, it's out of your control.
Yeah.
Now all you can do is just play it cool. You know, versus panicking and going crazy, right? So,
Right.
no, I love it, man. Like, so, okay, so we're talking about the full-time thing. And again, this is unique in our industry, you know, because again, a lot of part-timers, it's a great part-time thing because it is heavily on the weekends. But Ernie, talk to us more about like the rewarding parts of going full-time, right? And like just some of the things that you're like, you look back at it, you're like, man, and try to throw the passion side of it, and I'm talking to looking in the mirror right now because it's like you are passionate about this industry, obviously, and more passionate than what you were doing before. So that's rewarding in itself, right? But try to like remove that aspect of it. What other things do you find rewarding, right? Is there freedom in it? Is there, you know, you pick and choose what you're doing. You work with really cool people. Like, what would you say, man?
I think the biggest part of it is that it's yours.
Yeah.
I think that's the most rewarding part is that it's your business. And you kind of make it what you want, right? And I think before coming from corporate and where you have to ask for permission to do certain things and it has to be approved, et cetera, et cetera. Now you run a business where you kind of do whatever you like,
Buck
right?
stops at you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think like one of the most rewarding things that happened was in 2023, you know, I said, I'm going to go on vacation. And I said,
It
I'm
only
not.
took you like 8 years to go on
Yeah,
vacation.
100%. I was scared because I was like, what am I going to do? I can't book any events. And so even then I said, I'm not booking any events because I don't want to worry about work. I just want to go on vacation. And I was on vacation. And then one of my planners hits me and says, hey, I need you this Saturday. It's like Thursday. For a big party. It's corporate, celebrities, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I need you. She won't work with anyone else. And I was just like, let me see if I can do this. She's like, Ernie, you're going to make this happen.
Oh.
Gosh.
Okay.
And so I said, all right.
What are,
Got to it.
Bet.
Bet. Yeah.
Say less.
So we got to it, hit the squad up. Everything was made. Everything was bought.
Wow.
Event happened. We got staff. It was like 6 bartenders. Like, it wasn't even a small
Wow.
event.
No, it wasn't.
Wait, were you there?
No.
No.
I was on vacation.
Where'd you go on vacation?
El Salvador.
Hey.
So Yeah, I was
The food.
I was on the beach.
Yeah,
I was on the
sounds
beach.
lovely.
I need you here. Ernie's like, I ain't going
Life
nowhere.
is
Yeah.
Life is like a
He
beach
said, I will
chair.
figure this
Yeah.
out for you though.
Yeah.
But like, I'm chilling on this beach.
So I spent a little time putting it together,
Right.
and then I assigned a lead. I assigned, the bartenders,
Good.
made sure everything worked, and they pulled it off. And I think that was one of those moments where I was like, "Yo,
This
is
could be done."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was alone probably one of the most rewarding things I ever went through as a business owner.
That's rad.
Man.
Yeah.
And
So-
these guys, like,
Yeah.
all I got was great feedback. I wasn't
Yeah.
even there.
Executed.
Yeah,
You know, I love that you said this because as we're onboarding and demoing a ton of bartending companies, right? Especially when we talk about pricing, we help them understand that, like, hey, you want to do things to where your business is its own entity. And so that everything that probably, as you're starting off as a bartending, like, owner and a company, you're doing a lot of the things. You're driving around, you're building bars, you're cutting limes, you're doing all these things. But you need to put yourself in a position where you're charging for those things. A lot of bartending companies don't. And if you do charge for it, then you're in a position where you can replace yourself.
Yep.
So that you can be in El Salvador, you can be in Hawaii on a beach, and someone gives you a call, big event, and boom, you got people in place to knock this out for you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that, like, if you're in a certain position right now and you're not charging for those things, that's okay. I just want you to be aware of it, and you need to stair step your way to that because you want to be in that position that Ernie was in, to where I literally use the same
I got people for
comment
this.
of like, I say, like, I want you to be in Hawaii drinking Mai Tais while your business is operating.
Right.
And then what's crazy is that you got a big event. I'm sure you got paid a good amount of money for it and good profits for it while you're at El Salvador.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. That is where you want to be. And some people, like, probably can't even fathom, like, I'm doing all of these things to make these events happen. But, like, it can happen. It does start with good people, though.
Yeah.
You obviously had
It has to
good,
be.
like, people
Yeah.
on your side
We'll
to
touch
knock
on
this
that
out.
next episode.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The people keeps coming up. It's a top
Yeah.
thing.
it
I
is.
mean, I will say, right, like the CEO of McDonald's is not looking at every order, right?
Right,
like
100%.
like the owner of
CJ, you're
Costco.
CJ with the facts.
I'm just
CJ with the
saying,
facts.
like,
One
Hit
minute
it.
to do it today.
Madre
I
from
It's,
love it.
it's very
And,
true,
yeah.
right? Like the owner of
Just caught me
Costco
off a little
isn't making sure that every membership has been scanned.
He is making
Yeah.
sure those hot dogs stay at $1.50.
He is making sure those hot dogs, and thank you for it. I just
Stay
found
at
out
$1.50.
that those chopped onions that used to be on the side, but they've removed since COVID, you can ask for them at the window.
Oh, 100% in a little container.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. That was the whole purpose of getting the hot dog for the freaking chopped onions. I was so mad.
whole time.
But no, but seriously, like all of that, like the larger, like, as your business grows, and if you yourself, because Ernie, and I think you will admit this, right? You couldn't have gotten to 26 bartending companies if you yourself didn't execute, right? So
26 people.
26
bartenders.
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 Yeah.
Right, 26 people. So, it's not like it just happened overnight, right? Like you went from doing it yourself to doing it with one person underneath your wing to 2 people to 3 people. And Vivian, you're there, right? Vivian, you have other bartenders underneath you, and you have people that you can trust to execute,
100%.
Right.
right? And so it's when you get to that point where you're able to take a vacation and sit on a beach while these things are executed, it's not because like you're just really lucky. You put in the work,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because think about what you just said. You put off an event that took 6 bartenders. You assigned a lead, but that meant that you had some type of standard operation procedure.
Yeah. That's it.
SOPs.
SOPs. That's it. That's
you
it.
know it,
Yeah.
right? And Vivian does it, right? To where you make it easy for the people who are underneath you to operate and to do what they do best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like that's the mindset that Ryan is always trying to get these bartending companies on when bringing them on is right when he's like, all right, well, how much do you pay you're bartending, you're bartender
Right.
for the hour. How much are you profiting off of the hour? And like some people were like, oh, you're just trying to be greedy and you're trying to make money off of like no. I'm charging a profit off of that bartending hour because even if the bartender knew your event was, they don't know where to get your mixers. They don't know how to
Right.
get the ice
Right.
to your event or where to find a bar,
Yeah.
where to get a bar specifically made for your event
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be right.
And the
like,
training and time that you put
and the
into
training
it. That's the
and
biggest thing. You're
time.
putting all that effort. And then let's just think about vice versa in this situation. If you had nobody to go and do that stuff and you're sitting in El Salvador, you're freaking out. And now you're like, or you have to hand the event off.
Yeah.
And you just missed the opportunity because you don't have the people to go and do that for you. But the fact that you've you've built your business up in that way, and maybe you're still doing this stuff and maybe you're not, but it doesn't matter. You've built it up in that way to where when these things happen, you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. You know what I mean? That people have to kind of like really consider.
Absolutely.
You know, so dude, kudos to you on that. And I know exactly how you feel that moment. It's a proud moment of like, wow, it's an accomplishment. Like, wow, I actually did this and I wasn't actually there because I do it so many times myself that like I didn't have to do it. And then it's also you're proud of your team. Yeah. That's kind of probably even a bigger moment of like, they knocked that out.
Yeah.
And like, that's my crew. You know what I mean? So that, dude, kudos for you on that. Yeah. Now we're going to transition. I think this is a good one. And you answered a lot of this just talking about your story, but let's talk about advice to mobile bartenders that are considering making this move.
Making
Right?
that part-time to full-time.
Making that leap, like advice. And again, I think you touched on a lot of it just going through your story, but like, what would you say? Like, you know, what's the first steps that they should take, or, you know, where should their head be at? You know, what's your thoughts on this?
On starting or transitioning?
Transitioning. Like you're doing it part-time.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, like I think I'm gonna take this leap. Let's go.
Yeah.
We'll go full time.
I think a lot of it too is, again, it's not only planning. You know, I have seen people transition without a plan. It works too. But I think having a plan is the most ideal. So that way you have something to fall back on and follow through with. Aside from that, I would say the transitioning part, another thing is, you know, it's very rewarding if you put in the work.
Right.
In the beginning, when I first transitioned into full time, I didn't see the full potential. If I'm being honest, like I didn't know how far I could take it or how far it would go. At that time, you know, more mobile bartenders were coming in, and I was like, dude, did I leave my job at the wrong time, or I should have never left? But I think because I planned for it and I knew kind of which way I wanted to grow and go, is what made it easier for me. So I had a set plan. So year by year, I always wanted to grow somehow. And I still remember one of my clients, he's like, dude, you're killing it. He's like, next year, you got to do double the events. I was like,
how, Sway? How? Yeah.
Me and who else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that year I did like 60 events. And I was like, there's no way I'll ever get past 60 again.
Look, just take a step back. By the way, guys, there's 52 weekends in a year.
Right.
So Ernie was already busy every weekend.
Yeah.
And some.
Yeah.
And that was at that point, it was just me.
God.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
So I was doing at least one event per weekend.
Yeah.
And if not, you know, our slow seasons, maybe 2 or 3 per,
Yep.
like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or
Yeah.
even double shifting, you know, one event to the next.
Right.
Double shift is
Good
crazy.
on you, friend.
Yeah. But I don't know what it was. I had that grind to like, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And again, you know, when you're there, you're making money, not only for the event, and then you're cashing out on tips. Like, it was good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Cool. But then when that person told me like 60, I was like, all right, maybe I'm going to shoot for 70 next year. And then we did 120 something.
Boom. Let's go.
And I was like, dude, like, and I always tell him all the time, I was like, dude, you told me
Yeah.
that I had to double. And then when I hit 120, I said, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it, man.
That was way too much work.
Yeah.
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 And next year I hit 2 something.
Dang, friend. You're a badass.
Yeah.
But at that point, you know, it's when I started to realize, like, at that point, that's where, like, the transition part came into effect because I had already started planning. I think planning is one of the biggest keys. And the only way that I could grow was how many people I brought on board to work for me, right? And so I knew if I had 10 bartenders, then I could at least run 5 events per weekend. And that would be a minimum of 2 bartenders at each event.
Yep.
If I wanted to do maybe 10 at a lower scale, then I knew I could at least cover 10 also.
Yeah.
And that's why I just kept onboarding. And that's why we ended up with 26 is because I always had this big dream of like let's go, let's get more events, let's get bigger events.
26 events one weekend.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things that, and in the beginning too, it was a lot of quantity that I wanted. Not that I wasn't providing quality, but I wanted to provide quantity. I had this drive in me to be like, look, I want to be the person that does the most events. And even then, I wasn't the one who did the most events. There was other people who were still killing it.
Right.
And so I just wanted to keep growing. And last year was the first year that I did less events than the previous year, but I made way more.
Yeah. See, and that transition is beautiful.
That's a whole nother transition.
That's
Yeah.
a whole
Of your time.
nother
That's another
transition.
episode.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. No, and it just sounds like, you know, the famous saying of you got to plan the work and then you got to work the plan.
Exactly.
Right? You got to plan the work and then work the plan. And then also, you know, it sounds like you had some type of mentor, somebody to go to like when you're doing this stuff to talk about that you maybe they've done it before or whatever. And so, you know, I think that's such a key thing, man. That's awesome. That's fantastic. You know, look, hey, let me bring up a couple more other things. Like any common mistakes to avoid. Anything during this transition, during this process, anything that you would say like, don't do this. This is the number one thing you should not do. Maybe you did it, maybe you didn't, maybe you've seen it before.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen a lot of people take on more than they can chew. And, you know, it's one of those things where, again, it comes to planning. Like I see people posting like they have X amount of events, but they're struggling to find bartenders, right?
Right.
Scary.
And I see all the time people reach out to me like, hey, you have an extra bartender? Hey, you have an extra bartender? It's happened to me too, you know, like bartenders get sick or something happens,
Things
they can't
happen.
make
Life.
it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But those are things that I've seen pretty commonly that, you know, people don't plan well enough for.
Yeah.
What else? I know it's quite a bit of different things that I've run into. I'm just like, man, shouldn't have done that.
That one
Ernie,
you had was
let
really
me ask. When you have multiple events on the same day, what's your organization process of getting ready?
Yeah. So that's actually like during the week type stuff. And so this is where this is behind the scenes that people don't see. But I have like a scheduling app that I run all my bartenders through where and I try to at least plan for like 3 weeks to a month out. So I kind of have everything lined up. Week of is where it gets a little hectic because you know, there's shopping, there's prepping, there's drop-offs, there's pickups. But for the most part, you know, I'm out there still kind of doing a lot of that still. But the organization part comes with like the systems that we've created. So we have a system like where I know what drinks are being ordered off every booking, and my assistant, you know, creates a list and sends them to me. And so I know what to buy for, what to prep for that week. Bartenders also know what they're walking into every single time. But it's kind of like a schedule. Like I have like, again, this kind of goes to like, we work all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like Mondays is like recap day. Tuesdays is like we're going through like emails, inquiries. Wednesdays is shopping and prep. Thursdays is shopping and prep. Fridays we execute.
Friday, Saturday.
Sunday we execute. Sundays are usually pickups.
You
stuff
said
like
something that's so key though. Like even having your bartenders know what they're walking into.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important.
I've
that's big.
seen that, right? Where with bartending companies.
Where's the bar?
And
Yeah.
right.
Where's
You
the
know,
ice?
they'll have a bartender walk into an event and they've never made the cocktail before.
Oh,
Right.
Right.
And then, and the person's like, well, you know, I ordered this. I had it at another event. It was great. Here, not so much.
yeah.
Right. So like, I love the fact that you even take the time to prep your bartender, so that, again, kind of going back to your very first event with your bartending instructor, right? You know, where it's like you walked in not knowing what to expect, but you never let a bartender walk in without knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
We used to have a bartender, shouts out to Isaiah out there in Texas now.
Wow.
You know, who he was really good about what cocktail are we making? And then from there, right, like, okay, this is boom, boom, this is what you're making. And then he'll be like, oh, I haven't made that one in a long time. Can you remind me?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
And I think that's maybe going back to Ryan, one of those things that common mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Is, again, like being asked to make a cocktail not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done it before too, where I was like, people ask me like, oh, like, for example, let's say, can you make me a paper plane? 5-6 years ago, I would have not known what a paper plane is.
Yeah.
But I said, like, yeah, absolutely, I got you.
Well, I mean, that's
Let me go
what.
check in the back if I got what I got, and I'm like, Google, give me a recipe for a paper plane.
Weekly.com, what you say? Yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I got you.
Yeah.
And so it's like little things like that where I'm just like, sometimes I, even going to a bar, I'd be like, hey, can I get this, and this? Oh, I don't know. Oh, we don't make that. Oh, we don't have that. I'm like,
Well, because then there's so many variations of
Yeah.
everything.
Right,
There's
right,
no
right.
way to know or remember every single
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
But
you
I
see
feel
them
like-
in the back with their iPads. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's cool by me.
Yeah.
As long as you gave me, like, you're willing to try, I'll try it too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Like,
you.
if you don't have Campari
Yeah.
for a cocktail, use one of your other Amaros.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Thank you.
Right.
You, as a bartender, as a mixologist,
Yeah.
you should always have confidence in your skill.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I love Vivian because she'll be like, I was dreaming of this cocktail last night.
did you try it? No, but we're going to try right now.
We're going to try it right now.
Right, right.
And that's a true mixologist. A
Yeah.
true mixologist is someone who's willing to live on the edge.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this is going to work, but I think it will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes you gotta, just get in there and make stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
You gotta be confident
I love it.
and
That's why
present
you
it like
do-
you've had it
yeah.
multiple times, and it works.
Yes.
That's
it.
it. That's
That's
why you
it.
pay the extra bucks.
Yeah, man.
I'm not paying it
The
for
clients want
for
someone
vodka
that
crumble.
knows.
Yeah.
They didn't hire someone that maybe knows.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I just got my cousin. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Right. So.
Yeah.
But no, dude, this is fantastic, man. Like, I think there's a lot of little golden nuggets here, especially, not even for the people that are making the transition, like just doing it full time. Any like last pieces of advice for, anybody that's just watching right now that just may say like, man, I'm on the verge. I don't know if I want to do this, or like, there's people out there that are doing that. And maybe not just for mobile bartending.
Yeah.
They're on the verge of like
anybody
going full time
on
for
their own
something,
business.
right?
Absolutely.
Any advice you would say for those folks?
I think, do your research
Yeah.
and also know that there's a lot of potential in what you may be looking into. In the beginning, when I looked into mobile bartending, to me, it was just making extra money.
Mm-hmm.
And year by year, as I grew, I started to see, obviously, what could be done, what can be done. And you said something earlier that caught my attention, that you guys made $500,000 in, a year?
In a year, yep.
Sounds impossible.
Yeah.
And we did the same this year.
Yeah.
Oh, friends.
Let's
Good
go.
for you
That's
guys.
crazy.
Rad.
And this
That's
is not
crazy.
by any means to brag, because to me, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh shit, like we did that.
Right, right.
And that's one of the most fulfilling things that I've done as a business owner,
Yeah, dude.
was to hit a milestone
That's amazing.
that big. I remember when I went to camp to the bartending conference, shout out Rhonda.
Yeah.
She asked me and put me on the spot. She's like, Ernie, you're making about like $300K, huh? And I was like,
Yeah.
working both jobs, maybe. Like,
All right.
and I was just like, there's no way. There's no way. Why would she even say that?
Right.
And at first I was like, oh, maybe she just was like trying to set me up to be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna hit 300K. And even then I was like, that's crazy. That's nonsense.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, one of the pieces of advice that I can give is like research, follow through, and you learn and you grow.
Yeah, man. It's dude, that's so huge, because what you're talking about is really limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all may have it, but it's one of those things. It's all like, you think you saw a big house until you saw the next big house.
Oh yeah.
right?
Right.
And so it's just one of those things until you reach those heights. You never doubted yourself from doing it. You just never thought you could do it in that moment, but you kept striving for more. You didn't know what more was until you hit that milestone, that threshold, and you were just like, oh shit, now what's next? You know, so it's dude, kudos for you on that. And man, I think, you know, look, at the end of the day, when it comes to making this transition, when it comes to growing a business, you know, you've done it. You've done it part-time. You're doing it full-time right now. And I think what's great is what you're doing right now as well is also for people that are looking to do this, you're here to help them out. Absolutely. You know, and that's how I met Ernie. It was more so the moment I met him, he was just, again, the community over competition. Yeah. It was like, hey, we're here to help each other out. Whenever I would ask him questions, because you knew that we're building this software. And so I'd have a call with Ernie. He's open as a book. This is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how much I charge. This is
always.
What are you gonna do?
I remember
you know what I mean?
Ernie sitting down with
Right.
our developers, right? And
early on.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah,
He sure did.
Early
He sure
on,
did.
yeah.
So he's always been a
Like-
part of the process, and dude, we just thank you for that, and
Always.
and thank you for you just being who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know, if people don't know, we've created this thing called Libation Nation, which is just a community for mobile bartenders. And we're continuing to grow that. And it's been Ernie's dream to do something like this. And I think you're only going to go further where you're going, man. So for the audience, though, where can people find you? Like all that good stuff.
So you can find me at Liquid Courage LA on Instagram, TikTok, website liquidcouragela.com.
Nice.
That's all I have.
I love it. I love it, guys.
It's enough social media.
Guys, if you're looking to do any form of transitioning, mobile bartending, anything of that nature, hit him up. He's a world of advice and just like so much like information. But come tune in at Behind the Mobile Bar. You guys hit us up. This is fun. Make sure you subscribe. And we're going to talk about the next episode real soon. So join in. Y'all got to make sure y'all do that. All right? Good times. All right.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah.